Hey modders, welcome back to ModifedRoll. Don't forget we're sponsored by DN Dice. Check out the link to their website in our description, or head over to dndice.co.uk and use the code ModifedRoll for 10% off all purchases.
Hey guys, just a quick heads up. Unfortunately, both Deadly and my audio was a bit skew with this episode. Deadly was recording in a different place than normal, and I recently rearranged my office and didn't realise with the repositioning of my mic that you could pick up literally every click and movement of my pen. So I apologise for that. Luckily, this one was a short recording session. We only recorded enough for one episode in this sitting, so luckily it will be corrected before the next one. But just wanted to give you a heads up on that before we move forward. We will be fixing this before we do another recording. But that said, last episode the party moved to confront the people in charge, or rather the knight in charge. After a tense battle, the party won out. A quick search of the room discovered a note indicating that one of the collaborators of this conspiracy would be returning to the town soon with reinforcements. We join them again now as they decide exactly what to do. In this, Season 2, Episode 6 of ModifedRoll, A Brighter Dawn.
You all stand in the Great Hall. The knight of the town lies dead at your feet. His guards lie next to him. You have discovered the secreted alcove hidden behind his dais, inside which you had found some notebooks which you found indecipherable currently, although you suspect with a bit of time reading over them you may be able to discover what they say. But more worryingly, you've just discovered a letter on the top of this pile, which indicates that the sorcerer who was working with this knight is returning to the town. You don't know when this letter was written, you just know that it references his return in a couple of days with 30 men. You suspect these are going to be soldiers under a similar level of control to the ones that you've encountered so far. You've just gone over the letter together. You know there are still people upstairs in the shackles that you were unable to open. You know there are at least several rooms in the building that you haven't been through yet to figure out what's in them. And you suspect, having destroyed the gemstone in this room, that there's probably some sort of change in the town itself. In fact, all of you can make me a perception check to start the session off.
That's not good. 8.
Ooh, 19.
Say 24 for Sinclair.
Go!
That is a 2 for Cecil. that was a natural 1 plus 1.
To be fair, I think Azizel has a lot of other things on his mind right now, like his mortality. Anyone who rolled above a 10, you immediately begin to notice that the oppressive nature of the town itself seems to be lifting. As you stand in the silence in this hall, you feel the oppressiveness, the cloying nature that had been hanging over you since you entered begins to dissipate. And on the periphery of your hearing, outside of the keep, you hear shouts and cries of confusion. What would you guys like to do?
Well, I feel like we're definitely in the right place because everything feels a lot more bearable. Does anybody else feel that way?
It seems the weight that was on us is gone. It's strange.
I didn't notice, but now that you say, it does feel better.
Cecil's still got his hand on his chest, just taking deep breaths, still with that 1,000-mile stare.
I was dead a second ago.
Well, we've made a mess, guys. I think we probably should do something about it. And pretty fast, because I can hear people making a lot of noise outside.
Yes, I agree.
Did we send people outside? I feel like we sent people outside.
Yes, we sent people outside Twilight, because it's probably a lot safer than in here.
I know, but what are they doing now?
hopefully telling everyone how great we are for saving them. But one can only hope.
That's good. Yeah, that's true. They could be boosting our like street cred. This is good.
I certainly hope they're doing that, because let's not sugarcoat it. We walked into this place and killed the highest authority in it.
Yes, we did. We did do that, Sinclair. Thank you for noticing. Now, I need to...
We is an operative word.
I need some advice on what we're going to do. Twilight, I feel like out of all of us, you'd know what to do with a dead body. So any suggestions right now would be very helpful.
Excuse me. Actually, I do. Maybe we should... I'm not taking any teeth. I know that freaked you guys out. No other body parts? Checking? Yeah? No?
No.
Does that letter have any signature on it? Or any kind of markings on it at all?
It's just signed your benefactor. There's no sort of sigil or any other marking on it.
Well, we need to keep that letter to try and...
Yeah, put it somewhere safe.
Because if anything, if anyone finds out it's us and that's done all this, we need something to kind of say, hey, when they ask why, we need something to show.
Yes, I agree. We do need to keep that as proof.
True. I mean, besides the bodies in the attic might also help. Do we think they're going to be happy we killed this guy, or should we like burn the body and run?
Ooh.
I think what we need to do is show them the horrors that have been committed here. It's the only way to convince them what we've done is right.
I agree, but I don't know how we're going to convince them that how do we show them that what we did was what was the right thing?
That group you let out, are they still outside?
Yeah, let's go look. Let's poke our head out, see if we can...
Because they could, again, they can give their first-hand experiences of what happened.
Yeah, and we also have the two other people that I couldn't get out in time.
Yeah.
They also may vouch for us, but I don't remember what state they're in. So they may need some medical attention. It was all a lot of things just happened and it was all very overwhelming. So maybe we could go and investigate a bit more. But yeah, I agree. We should probably... I feel like we're not going to be alone here for much longer.
Yeah,
No.
So which direction are you guys heading?
Good question.
I like how you all came to a very decisive decision, but then no one said what you were doing.
I guess did we send them out the front door?
Right, let's get those shackled up free. Let's get those back we can get out. Let's get them free now.
Yes, and
Okay.
we can carry them out and we'll look like heroes.
Okay. So I think we're going to head back to the room that we were in.
Before we head up, Sinclair's going to search the knight's body for the keys, because that's one of the reasons that triggered him off in the last session.
Thank Christ. Yes. I'm not going to make you roll. They're on his belt. You find a set of keys.
Fantastic.
That was smart.
Right.
Okay. So you guys head back upstairs. Sinclair has the keys. Are you heading directly back to the room with the people shackled in it, or are you guys splitting off and going? Because as a reminder, there were two other rooms you haven't investigated.
Sinclair will head straight to the people in shackles.
Yeah. As you approach them, same as previously, they're completely unresponsive. As you unshackle them, they are a dead weight. You can approach them, try and get their attention. I imagine you're telling them that you're going to free them now, you're going to help them. They're just 1,000-yard stare directly in front of them. There doesn't appear to be anything going on there. It's almost like the person they were isn't there anymore. They're just a body at this point. But they are breathing. They are a heartbeat. They have a heartbeat. They are living. They just don't appear to have much else besides that. But you can use the keys. You can release the shackles. You can pull them down. You do think you hear a sigh of relief as they are given some respite as they're laid down on the floor as you get prepared to take them out. But they do not stand up on their own. They go limp. They slump to the floor. And that's the most you can get from them.
Was there two of them? Sorry.
We're going to say yes.
Okay.
Because I can't remember.
I think there were two. I think there was two.
Yeah, I think there was.
I believe there was 2 and then 1 in the chair.
Yes.
Okay.
And if there wasn't, now there was.
No, there definitely was one in the chair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe there was 1 in the chair, and I believe there was 2 on the wall.
I'm pretty sure there was, yeah.
Anna's going to try and help the guy off the chair.
When you pull on away, 'cause I believe you only disrupted the purple gem in the hall. You didn't disrupt any of the ones in here. So when you come back...
No, I did. I put it in my
I
bag.
think they took that one.
Oh, you took the one... Okay, well, there was 3 in here. Did you take the one that was in front of the guy?
I took the one in front of the guy, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to be honest. I can't remember what I described at the time. So we're just going to say the guy still, he's been... Oh, no, I think I remember now. Yeah, he had, like, slumped forward, I believe, in the chair. So he's still just, like, slumped in the chair, breathing heavily. So as you release him, he, like, flinches at your touch. There seems to be more of him there than those who were on the wall. But he isn't speaking to you. He isn't reacting to any prompts. But there are some physical responses. He flinches at a touch. He does appear to move his head occasionally, but again, you don't know what they were doing here, but he does not appear to be all there at the minute. You don't know what sort of medical attention he needs, but you just know that, he's not himself.
Mm-hmm.
So can I see that they are, like, kind of taking care of the people-ish? I guess I'm in the room, so I probably can. I was just...
I mean, yeah, between Sinclair unlocking them, taking the ones down off the wall, and Gilliana dealing with the person in the chair, like, unless you want to, like, get in between them and do anything, these 2 are, like, sort of taking care of things in here.
Can I creep over to the other 2 rooms we haven't looked at and just poke my head in?
So there was the one room that was downstairs opposite the knight's, like, what you assume to be the knight's bedroom. Again, from, I think we said sort of like, at the time, from the ones who have a familiarity with these sorts of buildings, you could assume that it was probably going to be a bathroom or something similar. The one on this floor, though, you haven't been into yet. So if you want to go to that one, do you want to approach the door?
Yeah, and gingerly open it.
Yeah, the door is unlocked. And as you open it, you're met with the warm glow of a banked fire. Inside the room is a small forge with intricate metalworking tools and casts for creating rings and jewelry. On the table along one wall are several rings of a style that you've become quite familiar with.
Interesting. If I tap one, does it do anything to me?
If you're just tapping one of, like, the metal rings itself, no, nothing happens.
Okay, can I scoop them into my bag and then go back to the others?
I mean, yeah, there's probably 3 or 4 on the table. You could, by all means, take all of them.
Yes, I will.
Do you, like, inspect any of them, or do you just, like, you go, rings, and just put them straight into your bag?
I'm, at the moment, because we have injured people, I'm not going to properly look at them.
Cool, you just grab
them in my bag, and I'll, mental note to look at them later.
Yeah, make a note on your character sheet then that you have 4 rings, air quotes, and you'll know what they are.
Yeah, I'm putting them in there. Okay, cool.
Cool. Do you just head back to the other guys, or to keep looking?
Can I have a look round? Why not?
Yeah, you find, other than the 4, like, complete rings that you find rings that are, like, in the midst of construction. You don't construct a ring. There are, like, silver bands that look similar to those you've seen before in various sizes. And on a rack there are several purple gems. You believe, as you said, investigated before, you believe to be some sort of amethyst. There's also a notebook sitting on one of the tables.
Ooh, can I pick up the notebook?
Yeah, as you flick through the notebook, you realize this is a sort of instruction manual for the construction of the ring itself. It details dimensions and directions for forging the rings, as well as a list of materials required. When reading through this, you discover that they're not simple silver, but a complex alloy made up of several metals, only a handful of which you recognize.
Okay, interesting.
It doesn't detail anything to do with the magic in terms of enchanting the rings, only how the ring itself should be forged.
Okay, I'm gonna put down the book as evidence. Or should I take it with me as evidence? Ooh. I'm gonna take it through to the other room and just be like, I found a forge, found this book, some rings. What do we do? Oh, I see you're dealing with bodies. But what do we do about these rings?
I like how these are living people and you went
I was
bodies.
going to say, first of all, these are human beings, Twilight.
Hey. Some of them aren't human.
These are living. These are living.
You racist.
These are living things.
Beings is fine.
That's the word. Beings, Twilight. They're not dead yet.
Yet.
But they might be
when
one
we're
day.
through with them.
No, well, everyone dies eventually. But not today, sir. She covers his ears.
Sinclair is just going to sort of face palm slightly in the corner of the room.
But what rings, Twilight?
They're in my bag at the moment. They look like the ones that they were wearing, but I didn't want to look too close at them in case we saw like visions or something. So I thought we'd look at them later. But I also found this book of how to make the rings, but not the magic, just like the ring itself. So I don't know if we want to present that to the town as like evidence, or I don't know.
Yeah, just keep that. That could come in handy. You never know, if this goes badly, maybe we can all share it and make rings for people in prison.
Let's start a jewelry line. Oh my gosh. I can make a tooth ring.
Ooh.
Joe, that's the perfect one. Just ooh.
Maybe not tooth ring, but we'll work on that. Keep brainstorming. Anybody know what should we do with these people? We need to get them out. Maybe are we going out, or are we?
I think that these people have deserved to see the sun. They've been in this darkness for too long.
Yeah, we should probably try and help them out of this place.
I'll take one of these fellows from the wall. Kazizel, would you mind taking another?
Yeah, I'll take another.
Gillian, are you okay helping the fellow from the chair downstairs?
We can do it together.
Yeah,
maybe?
that might be good. I don't want to drop this poor guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the feet.
I'll take the head. I'll take the bit with the teeth in.
I don't want to drop a head.
I think with
The bit with the teeth in.
I'm just gonna, you know what? Forget I'm saying anything. Just let's take them down.
Let's go.
Gilliana's holding the guy under his armpits. And she's saying to Twilight, okay, right, left, right, left. Wait, should I?
Yeah, I get it.
To me,
I get
to
it.
you. Should I go backwards, or do you want to go backwards? I'll go backwards. I don't think that you should go backwards.
Going backwards would be a good idea.
And then they're going to shuffle around in a circle so that Gilliana's going backwards with the man.
Fucking goddamn it! I'll take the bit with the teeth in it. Oh,
Wow,
great!
I'm not some kind of tooth fetishist, guys.
She's not a tooth fairy.
That is Twilight's Halloween costume. Sorted.
She's the other kind of fairy.
The bone fairy.
But we've started with the teeth and the fingernails. We don't want to take feet and heads now.
Where did this fingernail thing come from? Excuse me, everyone.
It's just been teeth so far.
I only
Like
threatened.
that's any better.
I feel like the nails are a natural progression.
Everyone's just assuming now.
Listen, I wouldn't say no to a finger bone.
You know what happens when you make assumptions?
Wow. Okay, fine. Stuck with the feet. Although a toe could be cute on a necklace.
Okay, let's go.
Let's get out of here.
Don't say this while you've got the man's feet in your hands, Twilight.
I really hope they're not listening to this because
I have his she's holding his ears. He can't hear anything.
yeah, but we've got the other two as well.
They're not lucid.
His teeth would make a good. His toes make a good necklace. Christ on a bike.
Speed running Twilight becoming a necromancer.
The multi-classing. Oh, Christ.
Oh, we the bad guys?
Yeah. All these skulls we're wearing. Are we the bad? All these toe necklaces. Are we the bad guys? Oh, right. I'm not gonna make you roll. You make it downstairs. You carry the people out. Okay. Do you guys go the same way out that you came in through the dining room and kitchen, or do you go out to the front door?
I think it would be better for us to possibly go out the back. I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, it depends if we want to make like an entrance or.
I feel like either way isn't going to end well, so it doesn't matter. I think.
Did we send the people out the front door? Should we?
No, we
them?
didn't.
We sent them out the back door.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe we should go that way.
Yeah, follow that.
Make sure they're okay outside if they're still out there, in case they're waiting for us, or
Oh my god! I swear to God, if we go out to a field of corpses, I'm done.
What kind of DM do you take with making notes here? Field of corpses.
That'll be a lot of teeth to collect.
My line is starting now.
We've been through this. While people have had a word.
Listen.
Anyway, yeah, I think we should probably go out the backside and see if they're still there or not.
I like that you giggled at that because I was going to.
To the backside.
Go the backside.
I didn't. I think I should get an award for that.
Kazusil is an ass man.
Hey, aren't we all?
Oh no.
Breast or thighs? I'm more of an ass man myself, sir. This is a KFC. So, are you guys in agreement that you're going out through the kitchen door?
Yes.
Not the back door. Guys, this is serious. People have had their minds broken. Let's stop talking about the back door. Damn it. Oh, I think this is going to be I don't think we can leave this in the episode. I think this has to be an outtake.
No,
keep it.
Oh.
The episode title, because he's told us last time.
Oh,
that's deep.
No, I think it should be breast or thighs.
Yeah, okay, out of the back entrance.
That's just as bad. You guys,
what are we doing?
Jordan, we are professionals. We are making a podcast. We're only 25 minutes in, and you've accomplished nothing.
Hey, we got these down the stairs.
No, you haven't yet. I haven't described that yet.
We have a bag full of rings. We have a book full of rings, and we have 3 people in arms. So
you have 3 people making your way down the stairs. I stand corrected. You're 25 minutes in, you find some rings. Okay. You take these prior prisoners down the stairs. You make your way through the dining room that you saw previously. The dust now disturbed by numerous footprints of the people you'd sent out here previously. You work your way through the kitchen, and you see that the back door leading out into the courtyard is lying open. The sun is well up at this point, and the sunlight streams through the open door into the kitchen, alighting on the dust motes which float in the air. As you step forward, carrying the last of the prisoners that you released, you step out into the sunlight, blinking in the blinding brightness of the morning, and are shocked at the scene before you. Dead bodies everywhere. No, it's not. You look about and you see the prisoners that you've previously released huddled against the wall in groups, hugging and crying, some just standing and feeling the warmth of the sun as it washes over them. You see some of the children that you saw earlier summoned by devotion to distract the guards, bringing cups of water and bundles of food to the people. You see townsfolk that you don't recognize milling about, bringing food and blankets to those and wandering around in confusion. You see some of the guards who chased after the children stood about. Some were stood about, some were sat on the ground, their heads in their hands, their helmets pulled off and thrown to the sides. They seem to be holding their head as if in a great pain. There are 1 or 2 who seem to be lying flat out on the ground as if they've fallen where they stood. And as you look about, people are comforting one another and talking and supporting one another until they notice you come out with the remaining prisoners. Several of the villagers rush forward to take them from your arms. They begin asking questions, talking over one another. You can't hear a definitive question as they all speak. Eventually, a man steps forward, fairly well dressed, and he addresses you all and quiets everyone else. Are you the people who have freed these prisoners?
Yes.
Ooh.
I've described like a fairly like nice scene here of people being comforted, and you're like, I don't know if I want to answer this question.
Yes, these people were suffering, and we helped them in any way we could.
The man stood before you is you can tell at a glance is a half elf, slightly pointed ears, lithe build, and he nods sadly, but then looks to each of you in turn and smiles and says, "Thank you for rescuing them. My name is Malkyl. For those writing that down, that's Malkyl, Malkyl. I'm the closest thing this town has to a mayor. Obviously, the knight of the keep ran the town previously. I sort of represented the business needs of the town. We don't know what you've done, but we can feel that something has changed. We could never put it into words, but something was wrong in this town, and it is gone. We saw the guards and the watchmen. Some of them, and he sort of looks around. Looks directly at the ones who've fallen down. And is like, we don't know what has happened, but some of them have been struck by a malady. Others, and he looks to the ones who are still conscious but clutching at their heads, are confused and lost, and they don't know what's happening. The rest of us, we feel a weight lift from our souls and our minds, and you can see there are like tears building in his eyes. He said, we realize we haven't felt this way in what feels like a lifetime. What happened in the keep?
Unimaginable horrors, sir. The knight of your land was using these people in vile experiments, turning your town's guard into slaves, mindless slaves, controlled by these rings connected to a throne. I think some of it, sir, we may just have to show you.
He nods slowly and says, I believe what you say, but for now, and he looks to the people you have rescued, I believe that these people need comfort and care more than we need an explanation. We can see that they have been through much, and he looks to the guards who are either lying on the ground or struggling and says, we believe what you say. We can trust you in this.
Hey guys, just jumping in here quickly with a couple of very short announcements. First of all, we announced the winners of our Season 2 launch competitions. So congratulations to Amber and Taffy the Trash, who won the Chaos Gold Dragon and Shepherd's Tempest dice. I've already reached out to you individually, but your dice should be on the way soon. So congratulations to both of you. But cannot go without saying to thank you for everyone who got involved, and especially thank you guys for the wonderful reviews we got. They really do mean a lot to us, and we've read all of them, and it's just fantastic to see people who have been listening to the show and have been kind enough to reach out and tell us how much they've been liking it. And finally, cannot go without saying a massive thank you to our new Patreon subscribers, one of whom was one of the competition winners, Amber, and as well to Patrick. Thank you guys for supporting the show. It really means the world to us, and with your help we're going to be able to improve even further. But that's it for the mid-roll. We'll let you get back to the action.
Do you know anything about the affliction that affects these men?
I think the best course of action for you to have immediate comfort and hope that this doesn't happen again is to get rid of all of the rings that everyone seems to be wearing. I don't know if they still work. They don't seem to be working like they were, but I would say to be safe, destroy all of them and take them off everyone's person.
A murmur sort of goes up in the people around him. So you're talking to this half-elf Malkiel, but there were others who'd approached you who were trying to talk. They've been listening to this conversation. A murmur goes out from them, and people start to move away. They rush towards these guards, and they start the ones who are conscious, they start tapping them on the back and trying to pull their heads up and talk to them and reaching for their arms. The ones who are unconscious, they're pulling at their hands, and they start pulling the rings off. Each of these people are wearing a ring, as you could probably have guessed, but pulling these off have no effect on their immediate sort of sensibilities. They're still, the ones who were on the floor are still on the floor, the ones who are knelt down are still knelt down, but they do pull the rings off. A few of them come back towards you with the rings. Would any are you guys is your focus on Malkiel, or would you have as soon as you saw this happen, are you guys oh shit, are they doing what would you be watching what they're doing?
I think Gilliana would be looking at Malkiel.
Yeah, I think so would Sinclair.
I think because these all will be the same.
Twilight's going to be looking at the people to check that they don't burn up into ash again.
Yeah, nobody burned up into ash, but the one guy did scream till he died.
Yeah.
Those of you watching Malkiel, he sort of looks around, realizes that everyone is pretty much doing what you said without giving directions. So he's watching the people doing this, and the three of you watch him, and he's just kind of looking around, watching what happens. Twilight, as you watch, you look around, you see that the first person get to one of these people. He gets to one of the. It's just a man who walks up to one of the soldiers who's sort of sat on the floor with his head in his hands. You see him tap him on the shoulder. The guy sort of tries to shrug him off and push him away, and he grips him by the shoulder, pulls his hand out. The guy doesn't look happy at this. He tries to pull his hand back, but he's struggling with himself at the minute. There's no real fight in him, and the man pulls the ring off his finger, and nothing really happens. The man sort of, as the ring comes off, the man who pulled it off, he's done what you guys told him to do, so he releases him. The man pulls his hand back in and just sort of grips his head and kneels forward with his head in his hands and just looks miserable. The man comes back over with the ring, and Twilight, you see when he gets close that he's not handing it over to each of you, but he's holding it up so you can see it, and you can quite easily see that the ring is very similar to those you've seen before.
Take it.
And if you just reach out and take it, then he'd let you. At this point, they're doing what you say. He lets you take the ring, and when you inspect it, you can quite clearly see that it's similar to the rings you've seen before, and that the gem has cracked in it.
For reference about the letter, about the sorcerer that's arriving, is it arriving where we are or arriving to a different place?
It didn't specify. It just says that the sorcerer will be is returning in a few days hence. I would say from the way it was written and from where you read it, you can infer that he's coming to this town. The only problem is you don't know when the letter was written.
Okay. So I know this is a huge lift up for the town, but I don't know about you guys, but I fear that this might not be over. I don't know if this was the plan or if there's something more to come, but we found a letter that potentially could bring worse to come, and I don't know if you'd like to see it or...
Malkiel nods and says, if you have the letter, I'd be eager to read it and figure out what's happening in our town.
You guys okay with me handing this over?
Yeah.
Yeah. I hand the letter over.
Malkiel takes the letter from you and begins to read it. You can see as he makes his way through it that his brows furrow and he looks more and more concerned as he gets to the end. He folds it back up and hands it back to you, sighs and says, I don't know how we missed it, but something has been wrong in this town for a very long time. I fear, probably rightfully as you do, that it has much to do with the knight himself and this sorcerer that they speak of in this letter. Do you know when this was sent or received?
We have no idea when it was sent. All we know is it was there, and again, we're not too sure if that's what was part of this in particular, or if this is hinting at more to come for this town. But it might be an idea to try and keep the guard up and keep a watch for, anything suspicious coming in, because...
Malkiel looks concerned and he sort of gestures to the guard who are sort of on the floor and said, "From what I have heard, this is the state of most of our guard currently.
Yeah.
I also fear that you're correct in assuming that this sorcerer is much to do with everything that's been going on and may rightfully be the cause of the magics that have been affecting us. If he is returning and we do not know when that letter was sent, we can only assume the worst. He could be outside the very gates as we speak. We are not fighting people. I represent the merchants of the city, the businesses. We would not give the city over. Do not get me wrong. Like, we would give our lives for this town, especially having seen what has been happening here, especially seeing what these people have done to the citizens of this town and the villages that we are sworn to protect. You can see a fervor in him at this point. Tell us what you would have us do, and we will assist in any way we can. We would not see this happen to any others in this town or those we protect."
Malkiel, I think at this point, the best thing you can give us is as much information as you know. Because from what I'm understanding from the situation, I don't think that it's only happening here. I get the feeling that this might be affecting other places as well. So as much as you can tell us about when this started, who you suspect might be involved, that would be a massive help and would give us a good place to start with this whole thing, because I think we know as much as you do at this point. Hopefully you would know a bit more since you've been living this way for longer than we have.
You see Malkiel take a second. He puts a hand to his chin and he thinks, and you can see him struggling with something, and he eventually says, "It's impossible to say when this began. I think back on the last few months or years or even decades. There's no point when I can think that things went from good to bad. I just know that." You can see him sort of like almost panicking. He's like, I don't know when this began for us. I just know that things became harder over time. We became, even simple things became a struggle to do, to the point where all we could do was get by, and I don't know what caused it. All I know is that now we don't feel it anymore. I don't know when it began. And you see him look to these families who aren't a part of this town and have been brought in. I know that more people, we were told they were criminals. We were told that they were bandits or raiders. I just know that people were being brought into this town, and we thought nothing of it because our lives were difficult, so we assumed that people's lives outside must be difficult and there must be a reason, and the bandits and the raiders were an explanation, and the monster attacks that we were told were happening. I just know that we saw more of these people coming in about a year ago, and the frequency at which they came in increased, and our lives seemed more difficult at the same rate, so we assumed that it was the same everywhere, and that more people were turning to banditry and thievery, and that was just the way the world was going. And you can see at this point he's begun, like, tears have formed in his eyes. We assumed that the world was getting harsher because our lives seemed to be doing so. We didn't question it. We didn't think that something was doing this. We just assumed it was the world itself was becoming a darker place. I can't give you a date. I can't give you a day. I just know that in the last year, things have gotten worse and harder.
Malkiel, I spoke to a travelling merchant last night in one of the taverns here. He seemed to think that it was around about 2 years ago that it started this, because he says he travels here semi-often, and it was about 2 years ago that he'd noticed something was going on. Would if you had even a little thing, would you say that there was something that happened around then that maybe could have been a catalyst to all this?
Like I said, I can't give a date. I know for us, the frequency of the people being brought in increased about a year ago. In terms of 2 years ago, I can't say a specific event. I know that our knight travels frequently to the surrounding areas. There may have been something he went to assist with 2 years ago. He occasionally is called to speak with the nobles in Cairn to the north. It may have been a visit to there. They aren't particularly frequent. He may have done one of those journeys 2 years ago. I'm sorry, but it's impossible for me to say exactly what happened. My concern has been with the businesses and the trade within the city, which has been my sole focus. And you can see him sort of thinking to himself, and he says, even beyond my family, my friends, just keeping the city alive has been my only concern. I don't know what has happened.
Sinclair's going to put his hand on Melkill's back. This isn't your fault. And I make a promise to you now. We'll find out who started all this, and we'll stop it.
This isn't going to have a negative impact, but roll me a persuasion check. Also, I've discovered that I'm pretty good at playing depressing characters. Don't know if this is about me.
That's an unnatural 20.
Notch down. You see his back straighten. You see him drawing a breath and collect himself. And he nods. And he says, you've already done more for this town than any of us have managed. Just tell us how we can help.
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is we need to look at the defenses of this town. We need to then take account of what arms we have, and then we need to account for what manpower we've got. If there are people coming here soon, we need to be ready.
In particular, it says they're coming from the north, so look, it'd be an idea to focus on the north side. We need to make sure that side is kept on watch, I'd say. Keep an eye on who's coming in, who's going out, especially on that side.
I agree. I also think that it's very important that we get medical attention to all the people that need it.
Absolutely.
Obviously, your people are in a bad way, and we need to get everyone as healthy as possible, because the more manpower, the better in this situation, because we don't really know what we're dealing with.
As you say that, you hear a voice from about waist level behind you. Don't you worry, I've already got my lads tending to these people. And you turn around and Devotion O'Hare is behind you. We're doing what we can to help with the medical needs. And she looks at Malkiel. Any medicines you can spare to help, pass them to my kids and we'll get them distributed. And Malkiel looks down, sort of like raises an eyebrow. Devotion, I believe, yes. Aye. Very well. I can see that you have some sort of rapport with our saviors, if they can vouch for you. And Malkiel looks to the rest of you.
She certainly helped us earlier. Yes, I'll vouch for her.
He nods and he sort of like gestures to somebody who's been stood on the periphery. Any medical supplies we can spare, bring them to Devotion here and ensure that she's able to distribute them to those who need them. He nods and rushes off, and Devotion nods to him, winks at Sinclair, and runs off to organize the kids that she's been controlling to get medical supplies to everyone.
Is Devotion a child?
Teenager, but yes.
Oh, okay.
not like 6 years old.
I had the wrong impression.
Oh no! I say kids.
I was like,
in that
a child.
I probably referred to her as a child previously, but like,
yeah,
teenager. Like,
okay.
Anyone who's organizing a children's crime ring is going to be at least 13.
Medically trained. I'm impressed.
I mean, in this case, medical medical
Medically
equipment, medical or medicine and stuff is going to be like, poultices and bandages for the most part. And like from what you guys have seen, the people you rescued, the ones who've been mistreated, can be like correctly, they can be bandaged up. The ones who are, mind fuckled, that's going to take more than medicine to deal with.
Yeah.
That's going to take therapy.
Yeah, that's going to take
That's going to take some serious magic, because therapy's not a thing. Therapy's black magic.
I have to be like, do they have therapists in D&D, or are they just heresy? Like,
no, they're burnt at the stake.
Yeah.
What do you mean, the id, you witch?
What do you mean, heal your childhood trauma?
Yeah. Childhood trauma? That's just called childhood, you bitch! So Devotion rushes off to assist with that, and obviously, Danny, Gilliana was in the middle of saying other things before Devotion interrupted. If you can remember what your train of thought was.
Yes. Is this the first time you're hearing of this sorcerer? Because I get the feeling he's definitely been here before, and I feel like someone must know something about this guy, this person.
Again, you can see Malkiel think. It's almost like trying to remember things that were out of the ordinary are difficult, as if there's like a fog in his memory that he has to work through to get to this information. And he thinks about it, and he eventually says, there were groups who would come to and from Cairn regularly. It wasn't part of our business. It wasn't part of what I worked for. So I paid little heed to it. But I remember soldiers coming and soldiers leaving with a man in robes. He was human. He was old. I can't give an age. I just know he had grey hair and a grey beard and a wrinkled, pale complexion. He wore heavy robes, black with purple trim. And that's all I knew. I never met him. I never spoke to him directly. I just remember seeing him coming and going from the keep in the town. That's the only person I can imagine would fit this sorcerer.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
He nods.
Now, we also found some interesting looking orbs, glass balls. I think we're probably all of the same opinion that these need to be taken care of, and we absolutely do not want these getting into the wrong hands.
You're asking him to take care of your big glass balls?
I
ruined the mood. I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
I was going to ask him if there was a safe place to stash my big glass balls.
I'd love to handle your big glass balls, he says. No, you say would we not be better destroying them?
Ooh, yeah, maybe someone who's in a little bit better shape than us might want to do that. They're dangerous. Maybe destroying them in a safe, contained place would be better. But
when you say they're he sort of thinks for a second, he's like, perhaps we should just put them in a place nobody can access for now. I wouldn't, if they're dangerous and if they're linked to the cause of this, and he gestures to the people who, the people you just carried out, I would not want to risk anyone else coming close to them.
I agree.
If you're worried about them, then I can't imagine that anyone here could handle them safely.
Especially until we can get someone who is more adept with this kind of magic, who can possibly figure out how best to get rid of these. Until then, it's probably an idea to keep them somewhere where it's out of reach for anyone.
Yeah, why would you do something stupid like throw them on the floor and destroy them? That's.
I mean,
let
be said it was effective.
Yeah.
He nods. In the meantime, I will make sure that nobody enters this keep other than yourselves. You know what's inside here. We don't want to risk anyone else interfering with this and either coming under a thrall they cannot control or damaging anything that could become evidence in the future.
Good.
In the meantime, as you guys are talking about mustering some sort of defense, Pete, as you were the one sort of mentioned getting, able-bodied people, could you roll me 2 d20s, please?
Of course I can. Ooh, they are both 12s.
Damn. So that's going to be 24 plus 10. Okay, cool. As your discussion devolves more into the defense of the town and finding able-bodied people, Malkiel sends out people to discover if there's any able-bodied men or any of the Watcher soldiers who were previously serving capable of, standing up and holding a weapon, essentially. After about half an hour or so, the runners come back with a count of 34 able-bodied men ready to defend the town. They set them up facing towards the northern edge of the town, watching for any approaching people. With these guards or watchmen in place, is there anything else you guys would like to do while you wait for the approach of this sorcerer?
So Twilight wants to go talk to Malkiel, actually.
Yeah, he's most of the people you've rescued, and a fair number of people have stayed within the square outside of the keep, tending to those who have been rescued, or just trying to organize what is happening. So Malkiel is at the center. Like I said, he didn't run the town, but he was like the de facto representative of the businesses in the town. So he has been sort of left at this point to be the spokesperson for the town. But as you've discovered, he's mostly deferring to you guys in terms of what they're going to do. So he has stayed within the square near all of you and sort of runs anything past the four of you. So he's there when he's waiting for any of you to approach him. And when Twilight, when you approach him, he is attentive and he turns to listen.
Hello. I don't know if we introduced each other. I'm Twilight. I know your name. But I just wanted to touch base with you really quick because I noticed that you seem quite overwhelmed. I'm trying to be better at this cleric stuff. So I just wanted to give you this, and she'll give him the ring with the broken amethyst-looking thing in it. And it's just like, well, I know it's been really hard for a few years, and it's probably going to be a little bit hard for a little bit longer. But that ring is proof that these things can change, and that it's already started to change. And the fact that that crystal is broken means that things are changing, and it means that everything you've done to get to this point and everything that you've done to survive, that's all that matters. So now it's just about taking the next step, and I really appreciate everything you're doing. Basically, I'll be with you and run off.
God fucking damn it, Deathly. That was really good. Right. Give me a persuasion check.
Oh, natural 20.
Woo! Fuck off. What's your total?
With my persuasion, that is a 22.
You're talking to Malkiel. He has been struggling. He's not he's a leader, but he's a business leader. He talks about, tax rates and imports. He's not used to organizing a military. Like you say, he's struggling. He's slumped. His shoulders are down. He looks stressed to fuck. And there are people around him, like, people have sort of realized that in terms of running this shit show, it comes down to you four and Malkiel. And this town does not know you. They are gravitating to around him. And the pressure is killing him. Just you telling this to him, as you say these things to him, you see his back straighten, you see a weight lift. You see a fire light in his eyes. And not just that, but those around him, those who were like gravitating to him, those who are nearby, who are waiting for his direction, they hear this as well. You see them stand up a little straighter. You see a firelight in their eyes. And I'm actually going to boost you from that roll that I gave earlier, as the people nearby who were previously unable to defend the town realize that if they don't do it, they can't leave it to anyone else. You see them look around, they see them head towards some of the weapons that have been collected and pick up their own. They turn, look at Malkill one more time and nod, and they head towards the northern wall as well. I'm going to bump you guys up from the previous defensive level you were at to the next highest one, which, for the record, is now the highest defensive level that I had preset for this encounter.
Hey.
As you encourage these people, you give them a hope they did not know they were lacking. Even those around you cannot go and defend the town who are injured or are infirm or are struggling. You still see the spirits around you lift, and as they do, they talk to those next to them, they encourage them. And the heavy silence that permeated the square, other than those being tended to, is filled with talk and encouragement as the people realize that they've survived something terrible. They can make it through this as well. And the voices of the city return in earnest to something that was missing, and nobody really realized it was gone. And the life returns to the city again.
Oof.
You guys can take this time to recover. So you can all take a short rest if you like.
Fantastic. Before we take a rest, Sinclair's going to approach Twilight after she said that, and he's just going to look around to the the life that's re-entered the town. Look to Twilight. Salude would be proud of you.
Thank you.
She should be. The power to do this is magnificent. And Sinclair's going to go and lick his wounds.
Literally like a cat, he's going to lick his hand and rub his head.
Yep. And in this short rest, Kazizal will be taking the time to write in his journal, and he's still sort of barely coping with pretty much almost being killed, and he's seeming a bit more serious than he was before.
Yeah.
So
let's be honest, he was pretty mysterious to begin with. So.
But he's
not even more quiet.
No, it's not quite, but he's before he might have been a bit more in awe of the world, because again, it's his first time being in this part of the world outside where he grew up, and this has kind of been like a shock to him, and he knew it wasn't going to be easy, but like I said, this is a huge shock to him, and he's trying to cope with it, and he's
you've wandered into something terrifying.
Yeah.
And he's started to come into terms with the fact that it isn't all, like you say, something to be awed by. Some of it is something that can be terrifying as well. What about Giuliana? In this short rest, obviously for a short rest, it's just an hour. You have a time to recover, but what's Giuliana doing in that period of quiet in the town?
I think she's going to be, she's going to sit and, have some water. If there's anybody around, just talk to them, see if how they're feeling, if they need anything. She doesn't like to sit around and do nothing. She doesn't like to feel useless. So I think she's going to try and talk to people, not doing loads, but talk, see if anybody needs any advice, talk to some of the people that have volunteered to fight and see if they need any guidance or advice. And try and do her best to do that, and just talk, because she likes to talk a lot.
Giliana makes her way through the crowd. Most of those who have offered to defend the town have made their way towards the northern wall. They do occasionally switch out every few hours to allow people to rest, because a lot of the ones who have volunteered are still, physically drained. So there are people switching out, and every so often Giliana will do a round and talk to the people who've come back, the people on the walls, ask how they're lining up, what they're doing to keep themselves alert. And as you're doing this, you feel someone tugging at the back of your jerkin. And you turn round and you see the little girl who was in the back of the wagon as you headed into the town, or as they were being pulled into the town. She doesn't say anything, but she sort of gestures with her hand for you to lean down.
She'll crouch down to eye level with the girl.
She throws her arms around your neck and hugs you with the little teddy bear that she had dangling over your shoulder. And she says into your ear, "Thank you for coming for us." And she lets go and runs back to her mother and father, who are leaning against a wall. They pull her in close, and as you follow her running back, they look at you, and you see the mother mouth the words, "Thank you."
She's gonna smile and nod her head and keep walking. she's I think she knows what. She's not one to get emotional about that type of thing.
She waits till nobody's watching, and then she cries.
Yeah, she turns around and she's like,
I'm not emotional. I have something in my eye.
Yeah, she turns around and she takes a second to compose herself. She's fanning her face a little bit, but really discreetly, so no one can see what she's doing. She pulls up her hood a bit as well, actually, just to make sure that no one can see any tears. And then she's gonna she'll remember, she'll tuck the memory away.
You guys have your chance to recuperate, your chance to catch your breath, and then a horn rings out throughout the town. People around you fall silent, and a runner comes into the square breathless. He approaches Malkill, and you see them share a rushed conversation. Malkill looks around to each of you and gestures for you to run over.
Straight there.
Giliana will run.
As you approach, the runner he's been handed a skein of water, and he's catching his breath and recuperating. And Malkill looks to each of you and he says, "It's as we feared. They are here already. The defenders are ready at the wall. They will not enter this town. Knight's valor will keep them out." The horns on the walls ring out, and the people in the square look to each of you. And that's where we're going to end the session.
Oh, shit. We are fucked.
Good old cliffhanger.
Oh, no.
We are fucked.
Well, that's it for another episode. Thanks for sticking with us. As usual, I'd like to thank Lixie B and Jeff for the wonderful logo and character art they created for us, the Storm Weather Shanty Choir for letting us use their song Drunken Sailor as our theme tune, DN Dice for sponsoring us, and all of our wonderful Patreon supporters who have been helping us out. Our recommended podcast this week is the Lads on Tour podcast. This is another UK-based TTRPG podcast playing a very loose interpretation of Dungeons & Dragons 5e. I say loose interpretation, it follows most of the rules. The only thing is it's set in a modern day, I said modern day, I'm saying a lot of things that aren't true. It's set in a post-apocalyptic modern day where the rapture has begun and many of the world's population have been taken up to heaven or pulled into the depths of hell, and a group of guys out on a stag do are left to try and find the stag after he appears to have been raptured. It's a very fun listen. I've been enjoying it. I'm a couple of episodes in now, and the characters are great. It's just a very enjoyable listen. It's very funny. It's a very interesting way to use the D&D 5e mechanics. But yeah, definitely go and check it out. That's the Lads on Tour podcast, and we'll have a link to them in the description. Just a quick note to our Patreon supporters. Obviously, we will have a couple of bits going up following this. Unfortunately, they're going to go up over the weekend, just because I've had a hectic week. But we do have a couple of special things this week. We have, obviously, as normal, with this being a full recording session, we have a session debrief with the team. But we also have going up for free the level up recording. I believe we mentioned at the end of the last episode that the guys did level up. So to keep it out of the actual episode itself and just off on its own little thing, we will have that recording where the guys talk through what they've gained from their level ups on the Patreon for free. Anyone will be able to access it. You don't have to be a Patreon subscriber. Unfortunately, as mentioned, I have been absolutely hectic this week. So I haven't been able to line up a trailer or a promo for the end of this episode. I do apologise for that. We'll try and get another one in for the next episode. But that's it for this week. Thanks for sticking with us, guys, and we'll see you soon.